All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Good day. Welcome to our third Aerēz Q&A session. My name is George Zarepski, and I'll be moderating today's session. First off, I'd like to introduce our founders, Candace and Mark Perea. Candace is a programmer and CEO of MCP Networks. Mark is a network engineer and CTO of MCP Networks. MCP Networks' first product is Aerēz, which is what we're here to talk about today. All right, first I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of Aerēz, and then Candace and Mark are going to focus a bit on the user and device tabs. We'll then follow up with a question and answer segment, so please add any questions you have to the chat window to the right of this video, or it's on the bottom of the screen if you're on mobile right now. We may not be able to answer all the questions in this session, but we promise to get back to you in the chat. And of course, if you have any questions outside of this session, please feel free to take advantage of the chat bubble on the bottom right of our website, or you can also email us at support@aerēz.net. All right, so let's get right into it with an overview of Aerēz. This webinar is really guided toward our current trial users, but for the sake of anyone that may be watching or watching the recorded version of this video, I'll just give you a brief overview of what Aerēz is. Aerēz is a hardware and software solution that improves your home network and gives you unprecedented control of your devices. We have a dashboard here that we'll get into as soon as I log in. Put my credentials in there. And here we'll see the dashboard for Aerēz. So right off the bat, we have a little icon of the family, a welcome message. Then we have a couple icons right up top. We have the current users that have been added to Aerēz. We have the number of devices that are currently on your network. And we have the famous pause internet button, which simple click, bam, now every device in my home network is paused, except this one, of course, because that would be bad. I wouldn't be able to get back in. And then as we get a little lower, you see that we have notification areas. We show the success of the pause button being activated, and also we get a message down here in our activity area that says the internet has been paused or restored, whatever the current status is. We'll move over to the users tab, which Candace will talk a little bit more about later. Again, we have that pause button that's readily available right up top. I'll go ahead and unpause the internet. And then we have the list of users. And in the device tab, we have the list of devices that are on our network, and our settings tab, which we have network management, account access, so we can update information like passwords, activity log, which is a history of those notifications from the home screen, and our support section. We'll go in a bit more detail on these a little bit later. But for right now, I'd like to talk particular about the user section, and we're going to hand it over to Candace for that. Candace?
All right, thanks, George. I had a moment of panic when you hit the pause button. I was hoping you made sure that you had some master devices. So, all right. Well, for those of you who are currently on our trial, we're going to just go through the screens to add a user. We'll just jump into the add user screen. So you'll get there by hitting the icon, the plus icon on the upper right. And in this screen, you're going to add a username, which is required. And then the next two options are the child-friendly filter and the user type. So the child-friendly filter is where you can set a content filter for your user. And what this will do is automatically filter out malicious or inappropriate websites, keeping the content for your children online safe. And then if we drop down to the user type, we've got a couple of options there. Number one priority is going to be adults, followed by media, child, and guest. And this setting allows Aerēz to allocate the bandwidth and optimize your network. After you've got your settings, just hit the add button and the screen should refresh and bring you back to your user listing. So in here, we're going to go into a user, pick one, and we're going to take a look at the options in the Edit User screen. So in this section, you'll be able to upload an image, so you can personalize each user, change or edit the name, add an email or a mobile. These are features we're going to use in the future to send notifications to your users. Once you have that information corrected, you can exit out of there, and we're going to go a little further down into the user screen. So here again you have the pause internet button. So in this case, if you want to pause all of your users' devices, you can use this pause internet option to just pause the internet for that user. Here again we have the child-friendly filter, which you can turn on or off, or you can change your user type. But the section that you're probably going to want to get into on your kids' devices is the bedtime blocker. So on the bedtime blocker, you can turn it on or off. You can set the start and end time, and we have a couple of options. The first option is the weekdays. So this bedtime blocker goes into effect actually on Sunday night, and then it until Friday morning. And then on the weekends, the bedtime blocker goes into effect Friday evening to Sunday morning. And you can set different times on those. So that should be all the information on the edit user screen. Now we can jump over to the devices. And this is just a listing of all the devices that have been assigned to this user. So you can quickly and easily see all the devices for that user. And those are the devices that would be paused and the bedtime blocker would go into effect, as well as the child content filter. So if you're a brand new user jumping into Aerēz for the first time, we're going to create some users for you as a default, just a location so that you can put all your guest users into one grouping, media devices, or Internet of Things, so that when you start out, you'll have a few options to start with there. So I think that's all the information I wanted to go over for the users screen. So I'll pass it back to George. Thank you.
Thanks, Candace. Great overview. Yeah, and a theme that you're going to see throughout the session today and our other sessions is the lack of intricate detail or customization that you need to do. Everything that we're doing, we're hoping to be very simple, very efficient, not a lot to configure, just the basics to give you that control. So with that being said, let's transition into the device tab, and I'll hand the mic over to Mark to give us some more information about that.
Sure, thanks, George. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining today. I'll be going over the devices section of the user interface, and this area is mostly just for information, but there is one key piece here, and that this is where you assign devices to their owners or the user. We've seen the pause button before, and it's here again just to make it easily accessible to you from any screen. So in the overview screen, we can see that all devices that have previously communicated on your network. We're working this week on sorting them by order of which device most recently talked on your network. But for now, the devices are all just listed here, and you may have to scroll up and down to see the complete listing. We know that most families that are using Aerēz have over 20 devices. Another thing we've gotten feedback on and that we just added today, and you should see by the end of the week, is having the user's image next to any device that is assigned to a user. So the picture that was added to the user screen that Candace talked about under the user details screen will show up here as well. We've also just today updated the IP address section that you see for a more useful status that will identify that your device is active or inactive, paused, good or bad Wi-Fi signal, stuff like that, to give you a better idea of how that device is behaving and what its health is. Finally, the icon at the left that's in yellow, we're working on giving as a clue to what this device might be. So in the future, that will look like a phone or a TV or a laptop, etc. So let's go into an individual device and look at the details. Right away, again, we want to make pausing the internet super easy, regardless of which context you're in. So if you click the pause button in this context, it's just this single device that gets blocked from talking to the interwebs, while the rest of your network just keeps on keeping on as normal. Next up, we have the nickname, and we feel this is really important for a lot of users. You know, MAC addresses and IP addresses are what the routers need to do their jobs, but you want something that's meaningful to a human. So here's where you'll put that name, and you'll see that this name gets carried over to the other screens of the user interface, so that you'll know which device you're making changes to. The master device is the next button here, and you'll see it's an on-off switch. With this switch, this feature means that when you globally pause the internet, like we talked about earlier, everything will be paused except for master devices, and there can be more than one. So any device that you set as a master device won't be paused when you click the global pause button, but it will be paused if you pick an individual device. So if you did it right here on the device screen, that doesn't stop it from being paused as a device, as an individual device. So this screen is also where you do the important task of assigning a device to a user. So you make the user first, and it'll show up in this drop-down menu. Then you pick which user owns the device, and under the hood, Aerēz will optimize your bandwidth and priority settings for your network and ensure that this device has the best experience it can. Finally, underneath the Save button, there's some technical information that can't be modified. It's just there in case you need to call us or go online for support for this device. So if you need to give us a little bit of details in a support ticket, you know, that's where you can find that info. That's it for the devices section of the user interface. So it's back to George. Thanks.
Great overview, Mark. Thank you very much. I'd just like to add also that the pause button is instant. So if you use it on screens that do have the save button, you don't have to hit the save button. As soon as you hit that pause button on either of these screens, it's going to be an instant pause right off the bat. So use it wisely. Be careful. All right. Now with that being said, let's jump into the Sections tab. And right off the bat, we have the log out. So if for whatever reason you might need to log out, if we ask you to log out and log back in to the application, you can do that here. Next is the network management section. And Mark, if I can put you on the hook again to just go over this quickly.
Yeah, sure thing. So network management is really maybe better said as Wi-Fi management. Here we've got two sections. There's your primary Wi-Fi network and then the guest Wi-Fi network. So first off is the primary Wi-Fi, and you can have it on or off. It comes by default with on, with an SSID that you can change there in the network name. And that's just the name of what you'll see on your phone or other device when it goes to join the Wi-Fi network. It's going to say this name. And then you can have password protection on or off. And if you choose to have it on, you must select at least an 8-character password, and you'll type it in there, and then you can hit save. We highly recommend that you put a password on your primary Wi-Fi. Now the guest Wi-Fi, on the other hand, that comes by default as off. And again, we have a name that we can choose for it, and then whether you want the password on or off. And by default, the password for the guest Wi-Fi is off. And the use case for the guest Wi-Fi is, let's say we're having a party, we're going to have 30 people over tomorrow. I don't want to create a bunch of users and assign them all to different things. So we just want this thing on and really easily accessible tomorrow. So we turn guest Wi-Fi on, we turn password protection off, and this network will just pop up. It'll be available. Nobody will have to enter a password to get onto it. They just join it. And it's totally isolated and separate from the rest of our network. So nobody on that network can talk to the rest of Aerēz devices. So it's good for security. And then the day after our party's over, we just go back in here and we turn that Wi-Fi back off again because we don't want it on all the time.
All right, great, really useful there. Thanks, Mark. And I think the key takeaway from that is this guest Wi-Fi portion. I mean, the ability to completely separate the network from your other devices is something that's relatively unique, I think, and adds that extra layer of security for our users. So let's move back to the Settings tab. Here we have our account information, and this is the place where you'll go adjust your name, create a nickname for yourself, update your password to something different, and make sure you have current email information so that we can contact you. Pretty straightforward. You can also update your profile image from this location and see a listing of the devices that you've selected as master devices, which is pretty useful. I have 30 devices in my home, and if I start messing around in there making master devices, it's good to see which ones I have selected as such in one place. Going back to the root settings menu, notifications is going to be used in the future for notifying the users of any actions. Activity log is where all of the messages that you received on the home screen, and I'll jump back there real quick to recap this. Here's our home screen activity section. When we dismiss something here, that's still stored in the activity log, so that if we need to go back and see what site it was that was blocked or what action one of our users tried to attempt, we can then find that here. And last but definitely not least is the support section. So again, our goal is to make this as user-friendly as possible for techies and non-techies alike. And we want to make sure we have a lot of feedback avenues for you to contact us. If you need any questions answered, any help, or just have some input and feedback for us, please, by all means, use this email link, which is disguised as an envelope. If you click on that, it'll open your email client and allow you to email us. You can also call us via our toll-free phone number listed here. And also, the one that we prefer you use, the most efficient, we believe, is the Chat Now area. So during your onboarding process, as you start to use Aerēz for the first time, you'll receive messages that are designed to guide you through the setup process. If you dismiss one of those messages and you want to go back and look at it later, you can do that here. And so this will be a history of those messages that we've sent you. Also, if you just want to send us a message asking for help or any other type of communication, you can click here and you can start a new conversation with any one of our representatives that may happen to be online. Now, if you leave a message here, you do not have to sit here and wait for a reply. If we don't have anybody available at the moment, we will email a reply back to you, and you'll see that both in-app and in your email account. So you don't have to sit here and wait for us to reply. All right, so that is a down and dirty overview of the Aerēz platform. Let's see if we have any questions from YouTube. I don't see any questions up right now. Candace, Mark, did you guys have any offline questions that you wanted to address?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Just this is for our trial users. We have a lot of updates coming, so I believe tomorrow we're going to roll out a bunch of changes, so you're going to be seeing a lot of changes. So just as a heads up that you're going to be seeing some different look and different feel on the app.
All
and
right.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Candace.
Yeah, George just brought up the beta testers portal. So we are opening, or we are open for beta signups right now. And the more you share, the more chances you get to be selected. So I encourage everybody to head on over to this beta testers page and sign up.
All right. Excuse me. Stealing my thunder there, Candace. Yeah.
Sorry.
So I was just going to get into that. Guys, definitely, if you are not a current tester and you're not in our beta program, please do come over here to aerez.net, AEREZ.net, and you'll find the beta link there, or you can go /beta if you want to go straight to this page. And basically here you can enter enter yourself in a chance to become a beta tester, which means some free hardware and a couple months of free subscription once we go live. And all we ask in return is to give us feedback about the product. So again, like Candace said, please share it with anyone that you think may be interested, which is really anyone that has an internet connection. That's our market for this. And we will send you updates as well. If you don't want to be a beta tester, go ahead and sign our newsletter, join up for our newsletter, and we'll give you information as it comes out for all the progress in our program. And let's see, is there anything else we have here? Mark, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Maybe just the stuff that's coming up. We've got the user images. I think are the pretty big one that's going to be released this week, and then also under the hood. Expect in the next week to start being notified when your internet is slow, whether that is identified as your service provider's problem or whether you've got a bandwidth hog on the network. Those are the other features that we're working on as we speak. So those are coming out in the next week.
Awesome, great, thanks, Mark. Yeah, so we've got a lot of progress coming up, guys. There's going to be a lot of changes. We appreciate your patience as we go through this, and we definitely need the feedback. So if we haven't provided a vehicle for you to give us feedback that works for you, please let us know what will. It's definitely critical for us to get all of that feedback and make these positive changes as needed. If we get no feedback, it sounds like we might be on the mark then. We might be exactly where we need to be with the product, which is also great. So please, everyone, share with your friends, family. Mark, Candace, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and give us your insight. We did quite a few webinars this week. I think we're going to take a pause and let you guys get back to doing some development. But we will definitely try to schedule these things a couple times a month, especially in the development stages, so we can talk with our users and get their feedback. And also let people that are just interested know what's going on with the project. So with that being said, thank you guys very much again for your time.
Thanks, George. Thanks, everybody.
All right, and thank you all for coming out. And again, if you're just coming in now and you couldn't catch the whole webinar, it will be recorded. You can watch it later. And please give any feedback that you have in the comments section below or via our website, aerez.net, aerez.net. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.